Greetings, BookTube. This is Peg. I am back again at the History Shelf. Sorry for the another long wait for another video. It's been a very busy week. My company had its annual conference, virtual annual conference, so it was quite busy just being on the laptop and monitoring things all day and engaging, and it was fantastic. It was just fantastic. I apologize. I am looking a little a little rougher for the wear there. I think I've been breaking out in some eczema from stress, and it not really work related so much as just world related. I haven't. Oh, now we're having glitches. Haven't been sleeping that well all week long, and I think the lack of sleep and then just anxiety and whatever. I've got like a rash on my hand, and as you can see, my eyes are just tore up. They are swollen, and yeah. Look at that. I'm so sorry. You don't have. I'm going to be showing a lot of books, so just focus on the books and not on me at all. I'm hoping to have a relaxing weekend now that the thing we've been working so hard for the last at my company, our conference. We've been working so hard on this since, oh boy, since probably March, April, and then the pandemic hit, and so many things changed at our company. We had to switch to online everything, and had some staff reductions. So it's been a challenging, stressful year, but we really had a great feedback from our attendees. So I'm feeling good today as far as accomplishment, and now I can breathe a sigh of relief. But I am wearing it all on my face, and I'm just really kind of tired. I think you can tell. Having said that, yes, I have not been making many videos. There's a lot been going on. So as a consequence, I have an obscene amount of books that have come in over the several weeks. Things I've ordered, things from publishers that I've requested, things sent to me. And I want to highlight them because, I want to show them to you and also just get your feedback as I try to figure out my review order process. I'm still working on the last book of the three that we had the vote on a few months ago. I am going to be reviewing this for everybody. This was the third one. It was a tie between this and Whaling Captains of Color. And so I read the first two books during that voting little thing I did, and then this fantastic looking book by Shannon Bontrager, Death at the Edges of Empire. So I just finished a really large book and have a written review now published in Book Browse Review for The Quiet Americans by Scott Anderson. That book is upstairs, but I'll show it to you in my next video. It was a pretty in-depth article. I wrote a review and a Beyond the Book article, so there was some research for that and time spent with that book. I finished reading Black Spartacus, The Epic Life of Toussaint Louverture, and I plan on writing a review for Open Letters Review for Steve this weekend. So that is coming. But I did finish that. I finished reading a mystery that I've been working on forever, Elizabeth George mystery. And I've also just been really trying to dedicate myself to catching up on my journal reading and my collection of journals that are like at least half book reviews. I love reading other book reviews. I subscribed to the TLS, and I have been loving it. I'm reading it page to page for almost every issue now. I don't know how many of you also subscribe. I know Steve does, and I think Mark Richardson. I'm out here in Colorado, and it takes a while. I am like way behind, and I've missed a couple issues. I feel like somehow these little paper flyers get lost, winging their way out to the mountains. I went from an October 2nd issue to just getting an October 16th issue a few days ago, and I had to write them and say I missed October 9th completely. Just didn't get it. So they're going to send me a replacement, but Boy, the travails of mail. And you know, the post office is very heavily burdened right now in election time. But this video is going to be a part 1 video of new fall releases, history releases that have come in that I'm super stoked about. And I'm going to let you know all the different publishers that these books are from, because, you know, a couple of these were just sent to me gratis, and it was really, really nice, and I really appreciate it. And there's several that I would like to review for this channel. So I might ask you guys, I'm going to set myself up again here. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, well, 12, 13. I think in this video I'll just do 13 books, and see if there's any. I know there's one that I personally want to review for this channel because I've gotten a lot of interest on social media. I posted it on Instagram and people were like, whoa, this looks fantastic. And but let me know if there's a book that jumps out here that you'd like for me to talk about on this channel. If there's a majority, we'll go with that, but I'll figure it out. You know, if there's a consensus around a couple, maybe I'll just do a sudden death, and we'll try to figure it out. Okay, so having said that, let's start with, I got this book probably about 4 weeks ago, but very excited. I love early American history, the Founding Fathers and stuff like that, but this is the Virginia Dynasty, 4 Presidents and the Creation of the American Nation by Lynn Cheney. I have her other book on her biography on James Madison, which was very highly regarded and blurbed and reviewed. She received a lot of, I guess she's just a fantastic historian. I didn't get around to the Madison just because I have like 5 different biographies on James Madison. I plan on reading this book to see if I like her style, and if I really like how she does this book, I'll probably go back and read her bio on James Madison. So yeah, the 4 presidents. We've got Washington, Jefferson, what is it, Madison? Oh, come on. It's the Virginian dudes. Yeah. And Monroe. Yeah. Washington, Jefferson, Madison, and Monroe. So, since I have so many books, I'm not going to read a description for each unless they seem like kind of, you know, nebulous is the word. So, Virginia Dynasty. This book came in the other day, and this is the one I posted on Instagram, and the folks at West Home Publishing are, they don't seem to have like a, you know, a real high visibility, but they've got some fantastic books. I subscribed to their book. I became a member of their book club, and if you do, and I'll link their website below. If you do, you get like 25% off their books. And it's basically you're just getting like an email from them, I think every month, showing you the book that they're covering and other books that you can get, and you get 25% off of not just one time, but when you're, and it's free. It's free to join. You can get 25% off any of their books. But they sent me this, and I don't think I asked for this, but it is like something I am interested in. I love reading about the colony of Roanoke. Just the mystery of Roanoke too is just so interesting to me and intriguing. So this is We Could Perceive No Sign of Them. Failed Colonies in North America, 1526 to 1689, by David MacDonald and Rain Waters. So this just came out. This is a brand new release from West Home Publishing. There you go. I will link their website below. The nations of the modern Americas began as successful colonies, but not all colonies succeeded, and the margin between colonies that survived and those that failed was small. Both contribute to our understanding of the ordeals of the Europeans who first settled in the New World and of the Native Americans who had to interact with them. But with the exception of the famous lost Roanoke colony, the failed colonies of North America remain largely unknown except to specialists in colonial history. So this is already, I'm like hooked. The Spanish and French repeatedly attempted to colonize parts of Georgia, Florida, and Virginia, while the Dutch, French, and English sought to establish permanent settlements along the northern waterways of the New World. The greatest problem faced by every colony was the specter of starvation. Native Americans gave food to newly arrived colonists, but such generosity could not endure. Indigenous people soon realized that colonists of every nationality were prepared to make war against native peoples, conquer, subjugate, and even massacre whole communities unless they were cooperative and offered no resistance to the intrusion into their territory. In response, Native Americans withheld aid or resorted to retaliatory violence, dooming many European settlements. And we could perceive no sign of them. Historians David MacDonald and Rain Waters, what a fabulous name. Rain Waters. It's like snowflake. Tell the fascinating stories of the many attempts to establish a European foothold in the New World, from the first Spanish colony in 1526 on the coast of Georgia to the final disastrous French endeavors near the Arctic. So, using primary source texts, the authors synthesize the shared experiences of Europeans to better understand the very line between success and failure in the varieties of Native American responses. So, what do you think, guys? This is the one I plan on reading and reviewing. Wow, don't mind the hair. God bless. This is the one I personally want to read and review before the end of this year for this channel. So maybe over the Thanksgiving break. I might take some extra days off around Thanksgiving. Just need to. Okay. So thank you, West Home Publishing. Oh, yes. And this book, definitely on my list of things that I want to read before end of year. Let me know what you think. I have several of this man's books. I've talked about him before, but it's H.W. Brands, and anytime he has a new book, I get it. But this one particularly is appealing to me. We have The Zealot and the Emancipator, John Brown, Abraham Lincoln, and the Struggle for American Freedom. So I'm guessing it's kind of like somewhat of a dual bio, and how they overlap. Let me kind of see how he frames it. I don't really need to read the description. We know exactly who the players are. Wow, so he sets a very large stage here. Master storyteller and best-selling historian H.W. Brands narrates the epic struggle over slavery as embodied by John Brown and Abraham Lincoln. Two men moved to radically different acts to confront our nation's gravest sin. So it'll cover a lot about John Brown, his history, how he approached the raid on Harper's Ferry, intellectually and spiritually, and then just how Lincoln came to his decision to issue the Emancipation Proclamation, and how I guess these two overlapped. So, and there's our author, Mr. H.W. Brands. All right, very excited for this. This is by Doubleday. This came out, I think, last month. Very excited for this as well. All right. Can you hear that? One moment. Okay, apparently the Ghost of Christmas Past came to visit me. It was just the TV. All right, next up we have two recent releases from one of my favorite publishers. As you know, military history is my thing. Casemate Publishers. And we've got a new book out on Custer. Custer, From the Civil War's Boy General to the Battle of the Little Bighorn, by Ted Banke and Gary Bloomfield. So it's a slim little volume. Let's see. George Custer's meteor... Hold please while I get a drink. George Custer's meteoric rise as a leader during the Civil War is without equal. No other military leader in American history has accomplished more so early in his life and career, and to a greater end. Yet Custer scraped through West Point, placing last in his class, true, constantly flouted authority, true, and infamously met his end at the Little Bighorn. Also true. This new biography. Oh my god. This is how maybe I should be making a video on a Friday. Woo! This new biography is a result of co-author Ted Benke's lifelong fascination with Custer. Being stationed at military posts in the American West during his Army career, including Fort Riley and Fort Leavenworth, Kansas, allowed him to retrace the routes of the 7th Cavalry campaign against the Plains Indians and understand the challenges Custer faced leading men in this landscape. That's an original approach. Appreciate that. Benke and Gary Bloomfield, former Army Journalist of the Year, used Custer's letters, articles, and his book, My Life on the Plains, along with unfinished memoirs and his wife's writings, and the words of others who knew him very well, to integrate Custer's military achievements and failures with little-known details of his personal life, to provide full context and offer cogent explanations for his behavior and decision-making throughout his eventful life. So, this book is claiming they will provide new insights into this flamboyant, larger-than-life character who, once vaunted for his skills on the battlefield, has long been vilified for leading his troopers to their deaths at the Battle of the Little Bighorn. All right. And, I've got a few books, a few bios on, or just over the whole story, but, of Custer and the Bighorn. I love how Casemate always has so many line drawings and illustrations from the period. I love it. Of course, that's and there's General Winfield Scott Hancock. He was one of my other guys in the Union side that I really like, along with Grant. I like Hancock. So yeah, looks pretty good. It's a brand new release. Just came out, I think, last month. So I'm very much looking forward to this as well. Again, remember, as I'm showing these, if anything jumps out at you guys and you think you'd like to know more or have me review by end of year, let me know. The second book I got from Casemate is also a brand new release, and it ties in thematically with the H.W. Brands book, because this is a John Brown book, with a fabulously enigmatic title, America's Good Terrorist. John Brown and the Harper's Ferry Raid by Charles P. Poland Jr. Let's see here. I just need a simple. Let's see. Let's do this. John Brown is a common name, but the John Brown who masterminded the failed raid at Harper's Ferry was anything but common. His failed efforts have left an indelible imprint upon history, and his story still swirls in controversy. Was he a madman or a heroic freedom fighter? These polar opposite characterizations of the violent abolitionists have captivated us, and the debate still rages, not as much about his ultimate goal as the method he used in attempting to right what he considered an intolerable wrong. I can't speak today. I really apologize. It's not a joke anymore, guys. I'm sorry for this. Despite the differences between modern terrorist outrages and Brown's own violent acts, when Brown is compared to the modern definition of terrorism, he fits the profile. Okay, very fascinating. Nevertheless, Brown is now considered a martyred hero. His method of using terrorism to accomplish this downplayed or ignored. This new biography of Brown explores his background and the context to his decision to carry out the raid. A detailed narrative of the raid itself and the consequences of the raid for both those involved and for America, and an exploration of Brown's legacy. I really like this approach. This is not just your standard, here's a history of the Harper's Ferry raid, here's a history or biography on John Brown. This is saying, hey, he fits the mold of the definition of a terrorist. And why have we chosen to downplay or disregard or ignore it? Again, wonderfully illustrated throughout. We've got pictures of the locations, some of the locations there, and the people involved. So, I mean, again, I love these kind of spotlight histories, or at least in this case, one that's making an argument. And let's see, it's about, we've got the endnotes, very good. Very copious endnotes. I love it. I mean, you could read those just as, as you're going along, or save them for the end and then kind of refer back to the text. Well, there's the man. I think there's a new show coming out. I saw Ethan Hawke plays John Brown. I'm trying to remember what channel, or if it's on Hulu or something like this. But he looks a lot like him. They got him rocking this really crazy wild beard, and it's pretty interesting looking. So anyway, John Brown's still pretty famous, still pretty relevant. So it's a little under 300 pages. By Charles P. Poland Jr., and that's at Casemate. I will link their website below. Military history nuts, aficionados, people who are interested in anything like that, and just history in general. You'll find a lot at Casemate publishers. I love their stuff. Okay, well, this is, I think Andrew B. might appreciate this. Well, at least the publisher. I have, because I'm interested in biblical history, and I still have the shrink wrap on this, but just going to take this off here. I first learned about this publisher from an Andrew B. video, and they're called Width and Stock. Width and Stock. And I will link to their website below. They have a lot of just kind of different types of books. There's a lot of religious or theological books, or books on the Odyssey and things like this, but this one from a historical and ancient history perspective really appealed to me. And this is a 2-volume set in paperback by Width and Stock. First we have The 7 Cities of the Apocalypse in Roman Culture. It's probably the second volume, by Roland H. Worth Jr. The first one, I guess, we should have gone with this, or maybe not, I don't know. The 7 Cities of the Apocalypse in Greco-Asian Culture, also by Roland Worth. Yes, it is the second book. The Greco-Asian Culture is the second book. Let's read a little bit about Roman culture, shall we? To understand the immediate cultural and societal background of the cities to which John wrote in Revelation 1 and 2, we must first understand the broader background of Roman civilization and its impact upon Asian province, writes Roland Worth in the introduction to this fascinating information-packed work. It is an in-depth study of the history, culture, society, economics, and environment of early Christians living in Roman Asia, which really is an area I'm keenly interested in. The early Christians. Drawing on a multitude of resources from diverse disciplines, Worth surveys Roman life and attitudes in general and demonstrates how Roman power developed and was exercised in Asia. He describes life in Roman Asia, what it was like to live in that province, how the imperial cult grew and prospered there, as well as the nature of official governmental persecution in the first century. A second book, The 7 Cities of the Apocalypse in Greco-Asian Culture, will fill in the details of the local background of the Christians for whom the many epistles in the book of Revelation were written. So, this will be a wonderful rounding out of my understanding of Revelation, tying it to physical locations, and tying in history, culture, economy. So this looks very readable. So it's a beautiful edition. Oh wow, massive bibliography. I love it. I could get lost in these bibliographies, right? Oh yeah, and so this is Width and Stock. That's the name of the publisher. So thank you to Width and Stock. I look forward to reading this and sharing more thoughts when I begin. Okay. Next book. This book has actually been out a little while, but the folks at Other Press have just been really great about sending review copies, and well, this came out last year, but this is the first softcover edition, I guess, came out. So the hardcover came out in 2019, and the softcover came out this year. And I have been really geeked for this one. So this is Diderot. I knew it was Diderot. I know that it is, maybe. And The Art of Thinking Freely by Andrew S. Curran. And this is put out by Other Press. Let me give you a little thing here. Denis Diderot is often associated with the decades-long battle to bring the world's first comprehensive encyclopedia into existence, but his most daring writing took place in the shadows. Thrown into prison for his atheism in 1749, Diderot decided to reserve his best books for posterity, for us, in fact. In the astonishing cache of unpublished writings left behind after his death, Diderot challenged virtually all of his century's accepted truths, from the sanctity of monarchy to the racial justification of the slave trade to the norms of human sexuality. One of Diderot's most attentive readers during his lifetime was Catherine the Great, who not only supported him financially but invited him to St. Petersburg to talk about the possibility of democratizing the Russian Empire. In this thematically organized biography, Andrew S. Curran vividly describes Diderot's tormented relationship with Rousseau. I'm not a fan of Rousseau. His curious correspondence with Voltaire, his passionate affairs, and his often iconoclastic stands on art, theater, morality, politics, and religion. But what this book brings out most brilliantly is how the writer's personal turmoil was an essential part of his genius and his ability to flout taboos, dogma, and convention. Doesn't that just sound awesome? Intellectual history at its best. At least I hope it will be. So, again, keep in mind, which one of these really jumps out at you the most? Am I plugging for certain ones? Maybe. But the softcover just came out. So if you guys are interested, check it out on Amazon or whatnot. It looks like it'd be a quick read though, because look how wide these margins are. It's not, and there's really wide leading between the sentences. So this might be a nice winter read for me, I think. But hey, I'll let you guys decide. Also, I'll just read what I want to read and review it on the channel, and you guys can, let me know what you think. Oh, yes. Savas and Beatty is a great publisher. I've mentioned them before. They publish a lot of Civil War history. They're a small little publisher in Pennsylvania, I believe. This was on my radar for a while. I told them when it came out, I would love to highlight it on my channel and review. So, yeah, I'm curious about this in light of current events and everything else. Oh, it's kind of more of maybe a little encyclopedia. But interesting nonetheless. We have Patriots Twice, Former Confederates and the Building of America After the Civil War by Stephen M. Hood. And yes, this is, I think I have the other book by Stephen M. Hood. It was his biography on his ancestor, John Bell Hood. Yes, he is related. So yeah, this is his newest book. Let me read to you the, let's do this. Okay. Patriots Twice is not an argumentative book, nor a polemic, but it is rather unique and exceedingly timely. Patriots Twice highlights the post-war accomplishments of more than 200 former Confederate soldiers and their enduring contributions to America after the Civil War. What will surprise almost everyone is how former Union generals and politicians and soldiers welcomed the former Southern soldiers back into the ranks of American society for the sake of unity. The main thrust of Patriots Twice is to show the depth and breadth of acceptance of former Confederates by the U.S. government, American institutions, and the general public. Although widely scorned today, former Confederates were entrusted with positions of responsibility and confidence, including cabinet-level posts and seats in the U.S. Supreme Court. by American society in the years immediately after the war. And then it kind of describes how the book presents itself, which is a hybrid of sorts, kind of like a biographical roster presented in a narrative style. Okay. It's basically saying this makes the detailed index of this book very important and useful. The index allows readers to not only find individual Confederate veterans, but also specific institutions and activities in which they were involved. A typical entry includes basic biographical detail, a short description of their wartime service, and their significant accomplishments after the war. And in many cases, how those accomplishments still redound to our benefit today. As set forth in the author's note, Sources and Methods, Mr. Hood did not research or consider anyone's pre-war political, social, or cultural stances or values, or his personal views on contemporary issues. That is not the point of Patriots Twice. Rather, he identified the tangible professional accomplishments and positions attained during post-war life. That's fascinating. I might like to interview this author, if I can get an interview with this author. I don't know if any of you guys are interested. I think the press release, or the pub sheet, is definitely saying, look, this is not a polemic. This is straight informational, but it's a touchy subject today for sure. Let me read the book. Let me read the book and see how it was handled. If you guys are interested, I can report back to you. So like you'll have so it's like a biographical, like they said, an entry here. And sometimes they're very short. So part 1 is like U.S. presidential administrations. Part 2 covers United States Congress. Part 3, the military. Part 4, governors. Part 5, city founders and mayors. Then 6 is officers of professional societies, and Part 7 is higher education. And Part 8 is Native Americans, philanthropists, industrialists, and others. It's a short book. It's about 180 pages. But it's different. And I've read so much history. I like to every now and then read something that's just presented a little differently. And I'm going to see what and I think the introduction will say a lot as well. So let me know what you guys think. Patriots Twice, Former Confederates in the Building of America After the Civil War. Yeah, I might like to interview the author. If he might come on the History Shelf sometime. Okay. Woo! I also need to make a video. I'm just taking a quick programming note break. I am a book reviewer for the Historical Novel Society. I've been working with them for well over a year now, and it feeds my love of historical fiction. I read history, nonfiction, but when it comes to fiction, I love mysteries and mysteries mostly, and the stray literary, maybe a stray literary contemporary novel. I love The Eighth Life by Nina Harashtashvili. And I love historical fiction, of course. I'm a history nut. So a lot of the times I get these great novels that are a blend of mystery and history, so historical mysteries. So I have a couple that are on my I have to write a few reviews by December 15th. So I've got a few more books to read fiction-wise in that area, but I'm going to be making a video soon just to cover what I've read, what is on my docket, and then I will try to incorporate the feedback from what I'm getting from you guys from this video if there's anything here that jumps out at you. All right, now we move on to Princeton University Press. I love Princeton University Press. The good folks there turned me on to these 2 new releases. Now, I know I've seen, and I knew of course, that Steve Donahue would have this first, but I'm making this video while Martina's not around, because she's pretty much had it with with all my books on Hitler and Stalin. As you can see, I've also tried to accommodate her a little bit. She goes, I get tired of walking by the bookcase and seeing Hitler's name all over the place. And I'm like, all right, you know what? I'll move him upstairs. So that's a compromise. That's what you do for love. You know what I'm saying? So I actually know I moved Hitler and Stalin upstairs, which means I'll have to move this one upstairs. As if the Stephen Kotkin trilogy in progress is not enough. But here we go. We have a huge, massive 1-volume bio on Stalin. Stalin, a Passage to Revolution by Ronald Grigor Suni. Look at this book. Such a youngster. Out by Princeton, University of Princeton Press. Princeton University Press. And it is highly blurbed, as you can see. But how will this one stand up to Kotkin's work? We shall see. I mean, we've got 2 volumes out right now of Kotkin's. This one is about Stalin in his formative years. So let's take a look here. Okay, this is how it's different. It's not a full life biography. It really hones in on his revolutionary, his evolution to revolution. This is the definitive biography of Joseph Stalin, from his birth to the October Revolution of 1917. A panoramic and often chilling account of how an impoverished, idealistic youth from the provinces of Tsarist Russia was transformed into a cunning and fearsome outlaw who would one day become one of the 20th century's most ruthless dictators. Some tea now. In this monumental book, truly it is monumental, Ronald Grigor Suni sheds light on the least understood years of Stalin's career, bringing to life the turbulent world in which he lived and the extraordinary historical events that shaped him. Suni draws on a wealth of new archival evidence from Stalin's early years in the Caucasus to chart the psychological metamorphosis of the young Stalin, taking readers from his boyhood as a Georgian nationalist and romantic poet through his harsh years of schooling to his commitment to violent engagement in the underground movement to topple the Tsarist autocracy. Stalin emerges as an ambitious climber within the Bolshevik ranks, a resourceful leader of a small terrorist band, and a writer and thinker who was deeply engaged with some of the most incendiary debates of his time. A landmark achievement, Stalin paints an unforgettable portrait of a driven young man who abandoned his religious faith to become a skilled political operative and a single-minded and ruthless rebel. Okay, so the subtitle really does kind of show you this is not a full-length biography, full-life biography. It's a passage to his revolutionary age of his life. So I like that approach. So I know exactly what I'm getting, and to have it so huge for a very short amount of time, relatively speaking, there's going to be a lot of things that I haven't read about before, covered. And if this new archival evidence, which they're claiming in the blurb here, is true, then I'm in for a treat of sorts. I mean, happen to be in for a treat with Stalin, but hey, when you're a history nut, you can read the good, the bad, and the ugly. All right, so thank you, Princeton. All right, Princeton University Press, another book. This one is a Hitler book. Yes, Martina's not here. But this one, it's not a biography. It kind of hinges on something else. So this is a brand new release, and this is Hitler's Northern Utopia, Building the New Order in Occupied Norway by Despina Stratigakos. Despina Stratigakos. There we go. So not as big as the other book, thank goodness. Let's see. It's getting high praise. Let me give you an overview here. The fascinating untold story of how Nazi architects and planners envisioned and began to build a model Aryan society in Norway during World War II. Between 1940 and 1945, German occupiers transformed Norway into a vast construction zone. This remarkable building campaign, largely unknown today, was designed to extend the Greater German Reich beyond the Arctic Circle and turn the Scandinavian country into a racial utopia. From ideal new cities to a scenic superhighway stretching from Berlin to northern Norway, plans to remake the country into a model Aryan society fired the imaginations of Hitler, his architect Albert Speer, and other Nazi leaders. In Hitler's Northern Utopia, Despina Strategakos provides the first major history of Nazi efforts to build a Nordic empire, one that they believed would improve their genetic stock and confirm their destiny as a new order of Vikings. So, again, it's like, well, what are your sources? Where'd you get this from? It says here, drawing on extraordinary unpublished diaries, photographs, and maps, as well as newspapers from the period, Hitler's Northern Utopia tells the story of a broad range of completed and unrealized architectural and infrastructure projects far beyond the well-known German military defenses built on Norway's Atlantic coast. These ventures included maternity centers, cultural and recreational facilities for German soldiers, and a plan to create quintessential National Socialist communities out of 23 towns damaged in the German invasion, and overhaul Norwegian architects were expected to lead. The most ambitious scheme, a German cultural capital and naval base, remained a closely guarded secret for fear of provoking Norwegian resistance. That's fascinating. I really did not know about that. I mean, beyond the invasion there, or in the beginning, and then the Atlantic coast, the defenses that were built there when the British weren't able to get them out. I knew about that, but I did not know about these plans. So this is going to be great. Enlightening, learning something new that I didn't know before. So let's see, we've got inserts with a lot of maps and period illustrations or artwork. Okay. Ooh. Aerial view of Molde in 2016. Oh boy. Okay. Got old maps here. The plans, the architectural plans. Wow. So this is like densely illustrated with lots of maps and charts. I love it. Okay, so this is Hitler's Northern Utopia by Despina Strategakos. And there's our author. Fascinating. All right, so let's see. I have 2 books left to show you. We're at the 42-minute mark. I've mentioned before that I've just recently in the last year become really interested in a war that I didn't know a lot about, and I'm learning more as I go along in my readings, both in fiction and nonfiction. And this book is from Liverite, and I requested it because I am trying to build on my knowledge of Spanish Civil War. And this is a brand new release by an author who has written extensively on Spain and the Civil War there. It's a brand new release. This is Paul Preston, A People Betrayed, A History of Corruption, Political Incompetence, and Social Division in Modern Spain. So it's talking about modern Spain, but obviously it's going to be covering a lot about Spanish Civil War. It's been blurred by Adam Hochschild, who wrote Spain is in Our Hearts, or Spain in Our Hearts. His blurbs here include, yay, another Timothy Snyder, author of Bloodlands. And Ian Kershaw. They were blurbing some of his other works, basically just saying he's a great writer. I don't think I've read anything by Paul Preston. Spain in Our Hearts has been on my TBR for a little while. I haven't really gone as far as getting it yet, but I might after reading this book. It says here, nowhere does the ceaseless struggle to maintain democracy in the face of political corruption come more alive than in this magisterial history of modern Spain. Let me see. This is a culmination of a half-century of historical investigation. A People Betrayed is not only a definitive history of modern Spain, but also a compelling narrative that becomes a lens for understanding the challenges that virtually all democracies have faced in the modern world. Whereas so many 20th century Spanish histories begin with Franco and the devastating Civil War, Paul Preston's magisterial work begins in the late 19th century with Spain's collapse as a global power, especially reflected in its humiliating defeat in 1898 at the hands of the United States and its loss of colonial territory. This loss hung over Spain in the early years of the 20th century, its agrarian economic base standing in stark contrast to the emergence of England, Germany, and France as industrial powers. Looking back to the years prior to 1923, Preston demonstrates how electoral corruption infiltrated almost every sector of Spanish life, thus excluding the masses from organized politics and giving them a bitter choice between apathetic acceptance of a decrepit government or violent revolution. History's never passed. So ineffective was the Republic, which had been launched in 1873, that it paved the way for a military coup and dictatorship led by Miguel Primo de Rivera in 1923, exacerbating widespread profiteering and fraud. When Rivera was forced to resign in 1930, his fall brought forth a succession of feeble governments, stoking rancorous tensions that culminated in the tragic Spanish Civil War. So it just kind of goes on a little bit more. But I'm excited to see how this is taken up into the modern time frame, because we're looking at, towards the end of the book, we're looking at modern day, and I would like to know more about Spain as a nation today, not just the history of late 19th century, early 20th century Spanish Civil War. I mean, let me see how it all feeds up into the present. That's going to be fabulous. So this is a pretty in-depth read here. Lots of notes, tons of notes actually, so that takes a 750-page book, minus the notes and bibliography and everything else. The book will come out about 565 pages, but I'm excited. This looks like a fantastic read here. It's just nicely laid out. So yes. Thank you, good folks at Liverite. And let me know, guys. Hope you're keeping a tally of what's interesting you. Okay, so the last book, I just got this a few days ago. This is from the University of Chicago Press. They have some fantastic books. And I requested this one specifically because I've been following the Cundill Prize, the History Prize. And they had like 10 books on the short list. And I was hoping this might make it to, shortlist, finalists. Okay, yeah, it was a short list of 10, and then they recently announced the 3 finalists. And I was excited because just the 10 themselves, I had several of the books that were nominated. I should make a separate video on the Cundill History Prize. But this was on the short list. It didn't make it into the finalist round, but I've always been intrigued. Again, studies of nations. Fascinating. I just love it. I love learning about other countries, their cultures, their history. It just broadens my view tremendously. So the last one we were covering Spain. Well, this one we're talking about Greece. And this was Roderick Beaton, or is Roderick Beaton's Greece, Biography of a Modern Nation. And this was on the short list of the 10 finalists, or the 10 on the short list. So I requested this back when they hadn't picked the finalists yet, but you know what? I still want to read it. I want to know more. The most I know about Greece now as a modern country is all the problems they're having with their economy, the refugees overloading their system, or something like this, and the EU had stopped funding them. This was a couple of years ago, and there was all those riots. So I'm just wondering what's going on in Greece. And I think this book will help me. And this is the University of Chicago Press. And so the fact that it made it to the short list for the Cundill Prize tells me that this is a very important work. Let me just give you a brief, and this is the last book. We're at 49 minutes. Okay, great. Part 1, guys. I still have another one to do. For many, Greece is synonymous with ancient Greece, the civilization that gave us much that defines Western culture today. Yet, as financial crises have convulsed Greece repeatedly since 2010, worldwide coverage has revealed just how poorly we grasp the modern nation. This book sets out to understand the modern Greeks on their own terms. How did Greece come to be so powerfully attached to the legacy of the ancients in the first place, and then define an identity for itself that is at once Greek and modern? This book reveals the remarkable achievement during the last 300 years of building a modern nation on the ruins of a vanished civilization, sometimes literally so. This is the story of the Greek nation state, but also, and more fundamentally, of the collective identity that goes with it. It is not only a history of events and high politics, it is also a history of culture, the arts, people, and ideas. Yes, sign me up for that. I love that inclusion. I love getting all of it. I love the intellectual history as well as just the, the boots on the ground and the how they, restructure government and stuff. I want to know about the arts, the culture, the people, the ideas. Let me see. Opening with the birth of the Greek nation state, which emerged from encounters between Christian Europe and the Ottoman Empire, Roderick Beaton carries his story into the present moment and Greece's contentious post-recession relationship with the rest of the European Union. As I mentioned before. Through close examination of how those with disparate political views have understood their shared identity as Greeks, Beaton reveals a centuries-old tension in the Greek sense of self. So, I can't wait. I'm kind of making it like a goal, I'm trying to challenge myself to read all of the books that made it to the 2020 Kundal History Prize shortlist. And I know the 3 that have made it. And out of the 3, I own 2 of them. So I might start with those 2 and kind of give my sense of which one I think should win. But I also want to read the books on the short list because there are so many good ones. And Greece, Biography of a Modern Nation is one of them. So thank you, University of Chicago Press. I look forward to sharing my thoughts on that. Okay, guys, I have really thrown a lot at you, as I normally do. I know I'm showing you a lot of new books in the mail. Well, I am getting a lot of new books in the mail, and I love it. But just know that I'm also reading, but I've been working really hard, and I've been needing to take some breaks, and I think like this weekend I'm just going to be reading and napping and sleeping and taking Benadryl for my my stress rashes. Thanks for tuning in. Again, I want to show you physically the books I have read recently. I want to show you some of the journals I've been reading. I've been spending a lot of time catching up on magazines and journals. I find some of the stuff I'm reading is just as pithy and erudite as the books I read. So I think it's important that I try to catch up on my journal and magazine reading as well. Because I love essays, I love book reviews, and I've been writing. Like I said, along with resting this weekend, I do want to start writing my review for Black Spartacus, the epic life of Toussaint Louverture for Open Letters Review. I really enjoyed that book. I want to learn more about Louverture. After that, I mean, that's the whole point of a successful book, I think, is to have the reader want to know more. I started reading a book on, I'll be writing a review for Saber and Scroll Journal, which I think, do I have them here to show you? Yeah. I also write for the Saber and Scroll Journal. These can be purchased on Amazon, I think, for $10 each, but these are great graduate writing. I think we've got some great essays in here, but they also have the book review section in the back. And I write for them. I'm happy to do it. Each journal has a theme. The next one coming out is America at War. So I decided to read this book called When Reagan Sent in the Marines, The Invasion of Lebanon, because they want to cover lesser known American wars or involvement in military operations. So it's a very slim volume, and I should be able to crank that one out real soon, but I need to write this by November 15th. So there's always something going on the book review deadline. But I love it. I wouldn't have it any other way. Okay, guys, so lots of things going on, reading-wise, writing-wise. I am going to sign off for today, and I think I need to take a little bit of time for myself, get some rest. I'm eager to hear from you guys, so I will upload this now. And let me know what you think. You go back through these books, just fast forward through the stuff that's boring, and just kind of look at the books that I'm showing. Let me know what you would like to see on this channel. Like I said, I'm finishing up the Bontrager book, or I'm working on it, and we had a lot of interest in that one, so I'm going to show that. There's another book that I had talked to you guys about that I'm covering as well for November, and at some point in November I will talk to you about War Junk, Munitions Disposal, and Post-War Reconstruction in Canada by Sushen. This is put out by the University of British Columbia Press. So, I've got a lot of in-progress stuff. It's going to be interesting. Okay. Let me know what you think in the comments below. I look forward to talking with all of you. Hope you have a wonderful Friday. If you haven't, get out there and vote. And be safe. And I'll talk to you guys soon. Have a good one, BookTube.